Well, good evening. We have a small but mighty crew here, so yes. And I just want to thank everyone also who is taking the time to watch this online, and we really appreciate everyone's consideration of the school and how God is working in the school and blessing us. And as we look back on this year a little bit and look ahead, as we look to the Lord for all things, and in doing so, let's open up in a word of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are thankful for your work and your word, how in all things you are sovereign, your great hand of providence in all seasons, you are completely in control of all things. We are thankful for the families and their commitment to this school, thankful for the staff and for the teachers especially, and just their commitment and their sacrifice, their dedication for the students. And Lord, we're just thankful for each and every one of them as we look to you, and first of all in gratitude for the great things you've done this year and your faithfulness to us. We look to you also for great hope and understanding that you are with us and faithful and good and true. Bless this evening, and that the words would be honoring to you. Lord, we ask all this in your name. Amen. I want to start by reading a letter that was written back in July 2020. One of the original group of families that started the school wanted to write something that actually I pass on to new teachers, and I think although there's a little lengthy, relevant to the season that we're in as a school as we look ahead, again, reflect on this year and look ahead to next. It says, Dear Annapolis Christian Academy community, I read Dorothy Sayers' lecture, The Lost Tools of Learning, in a larger collection of articles on education published by R.J. Rushdoony. All the articles were great and all served to reinforce my growing conviction that the people of God must take action in a world, at least in my world, that was increasingly pagan, especially in its approach to education. The kinds of ideas that formed and nurtured my approach to Christian education and the advance of Christ's kingdom were of the following. There is no neutrality, wrote Cornelius Van Til. No single piece of our mental world is to be hermetically sealed off from the rest, and there is not a square inch in the whole domain of our human existence over which Christ, who is sovereign over all, does not cry, mine, wrote Abraham Kuyper. What can the righteous do if the foundations are destroyed, wrote King David in Psalm 11:3. To control the future requires the control of education and of the child. Hence, for Christians to tolerate status education or to allow their children to be trained thereby means to renounce power in society, to renounce their children, and to deny Christ's lordship over all of life, wrote R.J. Rushdoony. For he must reign until he has put all his enemies under his feet, 1 Corinthians 15:25. These ideas drove my thinking and then my actions on the founding of the school and the instruction therein. Long after having read Dorothy Sayers, I still remember clearly reading Douglas Wilson's Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning and the impact it had on me. We had already begun our little school, but Doug's book and personal friendship helped us very much in our transition from a 3-day-a-week model, teaching only high school subjects, Latin, logic, Spanish, history, math, English, literature, and science, to becoming a full-fledged K-12 school in 1995. In that year, a wonderful group of parents became convinced that the general classical model was good. After much prayer, a new board was formed, and we launched Annapolis Christian Academy with a K-12 program moving after a very busy summer to a rental property on Furman Avenue, which had been Second Baptist Church's educational building. Later we used, I think for 1 year, some classrooms at First Presbyterian Church, and also continued at the Furman facility. From there we moved to Southside Church of Christ, then to what is now City Church, then to Gardendale Baptist Church. It even had a gym, and then to our present location. I, the most ignorant of men, have continually found grace in the eyes of our Lord, and so I share some of our early ideas simply that you know how we framed our understanding of education in that early school model. 1, parents have the primary responsibility for the education of their children. Teachers are to help parents. A real partnership must be sought and developed. 2, teachers and administrators must never be like the man described by the late Richard John Newhouse as having a mind that was marvelously impervious to the threat of ideas. Next, sacrifice is our very DNA as both Christians, parents, and teachers. We have been called to be living sacrifice. And last, prayer, active and often, private and corporate, must mark the school. This school is literally birthed in prayer meetings. We also might keep in mind what seems to be 4 stages seen in many areas of present culture and its institutions. 1, construction. The building begins with the foundation, and it must be on one built on Christ, the only sure foundation. 2, at points in the building process, there often comes a need for reconstruction, repair, and readjustment to the pattern and life of the foundation, who is Jesus. 3, if number 2 is not always ongoing, reformed and always being reformed, then we get deconstruction, believing that words don't really carry meaning in themselves. Words mean what I say they mean, Lewis Carroll wrote in Through the Looking Glass, which leads to despising all traditions, especially Christian Western civilization. And finally, if secularizing ideas become dominant, we will have destruction writ large. My memories include both knowing and loving many, many wonderful teachers, administrators, board members, parents, and students, all of whom added much to my life. It has been my great privilege to have been a small part of the work of God, and I most sincerely believe that the best is yet to be in Christ. Rev Jack Carter. I read that as just a reminder of a little bit of where we've been. We were wandering nomads here in Corpus Christi. We had little to call our own, and now we have a beautiful campus and facility. Also, just a reminder of just the seasonal, cyclical work that happens. Sometimes we're building and construction, and sometimes we're repairing and reconstruction. And each season that the school has seen, God has always been faithful. I think this season, we could say, as we look ahead, is a little bit of a reconstruction season, as we are adjusting, repairing, and working on things. Got several challenges, got some teacher higher than normal teacher turnover, and things of that nature, but it can feel a little bit chaotic and feel like a little bit out of control. But I read something recently about how in the chaos, that's where things become clear. And it's reading that again from Reverend Carter reminds me just the clarity of the mission of this school. It needs to be first and foremost in our minds and hearts. This school exists first and foremost to glorify God. Second of all, we are a community. Third, and we're committed to the Christian and classical ideals, and these things make us distinctive as a school. And God has called us to be uniquely distinct and different, and that really no other school in the Coastal Bend does what we do. And you better believe that that's going to get Satan's attention as well. And so we continue to fight our battles. We do it together. We do it with the Lord on our side. We're not warriors, I think, just in name only. We fight and battle against the warfare, both spiritual and physical. When I'm looking for new teachers, there's really 5 core values that emerge. And this really is in observing just the teachers that we have here and spending time with them and talking with them, and what makes a teacher at Annapolis an excellent, exemplary teacher. What are the qualities that we're looking for these teachers as they come in? First and foremost is joy. There's a joy factor of teachers that are truly committed to the mission and what we're trying to do, and the work that they're doing, they find great joy in that. Second is love. It's incarnational love, like Christ coming down, meeting people where they're at, whether it's the curriculum they're teaching or the students they're working with. It's an incarnational love. Third is habitual excellence. The daily ledger of their work is excellent. Third is a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. We always do it this way. This is the way it's always been done. No, how can I grow? How can I get better? What do I need to do to get better? And last is to be the solution. There's a lot of things you can point out that are problems and falling apart, but are you solution-minded? These core values are what we're looking for in our staff, and the ones that, and again, the staff that we have, this exemplifies who they are and what they do. And ultimately, they are involved in the cultivation of wisdom and virtue, combining the wisdom and virtue together in what they're doing. As I was talking with Diane Carter, she just reminded me just of the importance of just the mission and just the faithfulness of God. The verse that she brought up was Philippians 1:6. That God is faithful to the good work that he started. Back in 1995, as a small group of parents who didn't know what was going to happen to this school or what was going to happen, just knew they needed to get together and start doing education a distinct, different way, believed in something, and their work and those seeds of faith continue to grow, and they're a legacy now that we have for us today. And that good work, God is going to be faithful to it, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the highs and lows that we see. And this school has seen highs and lows through its years. The mission, though, is the first and foremost thing. That is the thing that we must stay laser focused on. And it's important, again, to find the clarity, again, of that mission. And then when we graduate, we want to launch students from here that love and serve God and enjoy him forever. And we do that from as early as preschool all the way through a building and instilling a love for God's word, and then an integration of faith and learning into all of their life. Thinking of this year, there is so much that we are thankful for. God has been blessing this school in so many ways. As I was just kind of going through just this year and looking for pictures, I was just filled with joy and just the thankfulness of all the things that we've done, from Warrior Week and Homecoming, Camp Eagle, Diane Carter winning Teacher of the Year, the big serve and a chance to go and send our kids out to the community at Speech Meet, Imago Day with the Warrior Waltz, the gala, we had an East Coast trip. Our athletics found success with volleyball, state championship. The football team was runner-up. The boys won the state championship. Girls track was runner-up. Our boys basketball and girls basketball advanced to the state tournament. And then theater, The Little Prince, the Evening of the Arts. We just watched Mary Poppins and that outstanding event, and spring Evening of Arts that are coming up very soon. We've got Warrior Festival, we've got junior and senior thesis to end the year, and of course graduation. All of these things, God has been so faithful and so good to us as a school that we continue to enjoy his blessing as we work together as a community and get to do these things that are so unique to us as a school. One of the things that people, sometimes consider, we've got people that, with the re-enrollment, feels like everyone's going, who's staying, who's going. I just want to just kind of settle everyone down and just realize historically we're still doing things that as a school we typically have struggled with, and that we continue to have historic numbers and consistent numbers. Now, obviously we want these re-enrollment numbers to continue to increase, but there's been times we've turned over half the school, and that's been just really tumultuous times. Families are coming, they're staying committed, and we're so blessed by their commitment to stay and see things through, and they want their students that start here to finish here. And that commitment has been so great for us as a school. And as we continue to improve and grow and build on the things that we're doing, the commitment of families is really what's been the engine that's been driving us, and we're so thankful for that and for the blessing of families and just their commitment to the school and seeing things through and wanting to see their son or daughter walk across the stage with an Annapolis diploma. But at the same time, we also are maxing out. First, third, and sixth are already closed. This is, again, historically, we've not really seen this before. We already have a waiting list. God continues to bless us with families, not only that with the re-enrollment, but also new families and recruiting them. We know that that recruitment process and bringing in new families is an important thing, as we have worked really hard at our admissions and making sure that our admissions process is clear. We've realized that after COVID, people were seeking a refuge away from public schools. They were looking for a good school, and for many people, Annapolis is the school they're looking for, but others just looking for a good school that wasn't, this or that. And we really wanted families that are really wanting to partner with us and commit with us. And we needed to make that clear in the admissions process, and so we've done a much better job of helping families understand this is what you're signing up for. This is what we're asking you to do. And we are asking you to be a partner with us, and this partnership looks like this. And by doing that, it's helped us, I think, bring in great families that have enhanced the school, and as we grow in kind of incremental ways, these families see what we're doing, they're partnering with us, they stay committed, they have deep roots here, and that's been just a blessing for us as a school and a school family and a school community. So there's 6 areas I just want to touch on. These coincide with our strategic planning and what we are doing as a school kind of strategically. I'll try to not go into too much detail, but just to understand, first of all, that we have a blessed partnership with the Ed Rochelle Foundation. They have taken over our property, and they have poured literally millions of dollars into this facility just in the short time that they've been a part of it. They are doing things that as a school we would never be able to do, and a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes, you don't see it, but they have really put us in a position where large systems that were kind of on their last legs are now brand new systems and things that we don't have to worry about for many, many years. Their investment in the campus and the facilities has just been unbelievable. They're going to undertake a large project this summer by putting in new air handlers in the lower grammar. They literally are going to rip open the roof and take it out and put new ones in. It's going to be a massive overhaul that will also include new doors there that will be fire rated. And again, that's something that we would have never even dreamed of doing. We'll be able to have new systems in place by next school year. Another commitment we've made is just increased safety. We live in a world that is growing increasingly unsafe, and so we want to make sure that when you're here on campus and your children are on campus, that we are doing everything we can to make sure it's a safe learning environment. We've increased the number of cameras throughout the campus. We built with the help of the Ed Rochelle Foundation, there's now the fences on 3 sides of our campus. That's helped tremendously with foot traffic that's come through. People would try to cut the corner from Hamelin, and they would be on campus, and so we've cut all that stuff out. And then with a full-time security guard who's been an outstanding member of our staff and has done a wonderful job. Again, no surprise here as far as like financially, where does the money come from? First of all, it obviously comes from tuition, and we do get some funds from other things, but that tuition dollars really drives the engine. I just want to make note of, we are intentional about not taking government funds or the grants that we do take. We are so careful that there are no strings attached. Just recently, the Department of Education passed the new Title IX rules and restrictions. Those rules and following those rules are directly tied to money, either getting money or not getting money. The government is going to continue to add more and more regulations on there. And so schools that are taking government money are going to have to deal with a more and more secular government. So we intentionally do not entangle ourselves with government and government money. They dangle it out there, they want you to grab it, but when you do that, they've also got you. So we are so intentional. That also makes things financially pretty tight sometimes, and year to year it becomes very tight as our expenses continue to grow with inflation, as we have hired more staff to help facilitate multiple classrooms in the grammar. And that is why, again, just the generosity of giving through our development, sponsorships, those things becomes more important. And that spirit of generosity, as we foster it, needs to be really critical. As you can see, our expense and revenue are really close. We basically zero out every year. And we really would like to have more and more of a cushion as the year goes on, or as the years go on. I just want to ask Rob George, our school board president, to come up and talk about the board a little bit. Yep.
Okay. Sounds easy enough. Thank you. All right. I will kick that bottle over in a minute, I'm sure. But thank you all so much for taking time to come join us this evening. These events, the Coffees with the Head, the State of the Schools like these, other engagement events like these are direct responses to survey feedback and ad hoc feedback that we've received over the last couple of years to provide more opportunities to hear from leadership in the school, but also to gather additional information. So we are very grateful for the time that people take when we do family surveys, when we do faculty surveys, when we have impromptu or ad hoc conversations, when we have Coffees with the Head. Your involvement in those events is critical to us having a good understanding of what the individual needs are within the school. So thank you for taking time to be here tonight. As Travis mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about the board itself, and then I'll talk about what, from a board perspective, we're excited about looking into the coming school year. So the Annapolis Board of Trustees is 5 to 9 members. Right now we are at 5. There are some characteristics that are generally kind of the baseline requirements for board membership. One of those is a commitment to classical and Christian education. And that might sound a little bit obvious considering we're a classical Christian school, but it isn't quite so obvious because not everybody that enrolls at the school has a depth of understanding of what it means to be classical. I think most people, probably everybody enrolled here, enjoys the idea of a Christian school. But what makes us distinct, as Travis mentioned, in this community and then frankly in many other communities around the country, we're unique in the sense that not only are we deeply Christian, meaning that our goals here can kind of be summarized in creating disciples that are going to be servant leaders in their community. We also use classical methodologies as one of the tools in our toolbox. It shines most brightly in the classroom in the way that our faculty members engage our students, but it also is shown in the way that we reach back to history for good examples of leadership, for good examples of disciple making. So it's not only in the sense that we study old books, although that does happen, but we study them for a reason, because there are truths that are true from time immemorial that will be true for time into the future forever. And we want our students and our families to have those truths inculcated in them. So the commitment to classical Christian education is much more than just we're a classical Christian school, so you have to agree with that. It is, are the board members that are on the board committed deeply to the purposes undergirding our Christian education here and to our classical methodology here. The next one is kind of direct. We have to be wholeheartedly supportive of our mission and vision, our goals, and our responsibilities here at Annapolis. Every Annapolis board member is a parent of Annapolis students. We have the flexibility to add people who have had their students graduate already. There is an exception made in certain circumstances where there's an intellectual or physical disability that doesn't allow one child in the family or a child in the family to participate in the school, but otherwise, all of our kids are enrolled in the school. And what that means really is practically anything that the board does affects the board members too. There are ACCS certified schools that have permanent board members. So board members that started at the founding of the school and maybe 30 years later are still on the board that don't have that parent or grandparent connection with the school anymore. There are schools in the ACCS that have board members that have no actual connection to the school other than they were invited to join the board. Our founders and their wisdom set up the structure of the board such that we are all parents of the school, parents in the school currently, and potentially grandparents, although that hasn't happened in my almost 9 years on the board. I think that's a significant advantage to the school board here. So it means we're not doing things that we're also not living under. You know, politically speaking, sometimes we might complain, I wish Congress would live under the rules that they're setting for the rest of us. Well, here that happens that way. So when the board introduces a new plan for Mr. Locke here to go and implement, it's going to have a direct impact on our own students as well. So it gives us that insight because it's affecting our families, but also it gives us the responsibility to make sure this is a wise decision from a strategic level for the school. It is a self-perpetuating board, which basically just means that the board itself invites new members to join. The ACCS actually frowns on open elections. They have a document that says if a school wants to have open elections, the only purpose they can see in open elections is to change the entirety of the school from a classical Christian school. So the board does want to be sensitive to the community, and we're looking towards other opportunities for the community to be involved in some form or fashion. Most ACCS schools, certainly those that are ACCS certified, have self-perpetuating boards. We have, like I mentioned, we have 5 members right now. Luis Cabrera and Kimberly DeVisser are rolling off this summer. They'll roll off in June. We'll roll on 2 new members at least at that time again to make sure that our minimum of 5 is complete. As Mr. Lockyer kind of mentioned, we're going to see some changes at the board level too. And anytime that there are changes, there are certain opportunities that come along with those changes. Ms. Carlisle is here in the audience with us here. Those of you like her that have been involved in this school for year over year have seen God's faithfulness year in and year out to the school. So as we look forward to 2024 and some of the changes, we're going to have some new faces on campus, some new families, some new teachers. We're seeing some great families and some great teachers make different decisions for next year. But just as God was faithful when he brought those families and those teachers here at the time that he brought them here, we know he's going to be faithful to continue bringing the right people for the right time in the right positions to Annapolis. We've actually already been able to announce the 2 new kindergarten teachers, and what a blessing it is to have 2 teachers that have already been serving our students in the pre-K program come and join the full-time faculty as lead teachers in kindergarten. So they get to, the kids that have already had them in pre-K and the families that have already built relationships with them in pre-K get to continue those special relationships on into kindergarten. We're very excited about being able to have faculty that want to continue to increase their roles in the school. It's also special, this is our first year to have a complete school year with an alumni, Ms. Domajo, on our faculty. That's very exciting that we've had a student who graduated come back and teach at the school. That's a wonderful compliment to the school's culture that we see growing here at Annapolis. So we're very excited to see God's continued faithfulness to Annapolis going forward. Travis hinted at it a minute ago, but we're going to have the final adoption of a new strategic plan for the school. It'll happen this summer. We'll start rolling it out in the fall. It has 2 primary, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's focuses or foci. I probably should know that. But whatever it is, 2 primary themes within the strategic plan itself. Continuing to deepen and strengthen the school's culture. If we are going to have the goal of graduating disciples who are servant leaders in their communities when they graduate, and that is our goal, then we have to have a culture on campus that deepens and strengthens those particular characteristics of our students. That is not to say that academics is somewhere in the wings. Academics is a crucial part. High academic standards are a crucial part of making sure that our students, when they struggle, that they're struggling well, when they're gifted, that they're gifted with humility. It's a crucial part of the discipleship culture that we're building on campus. You've seen over the last couple of years, maybe subtly, perhaps overtly, more opportunities for students to be involved in the community. Travis mentioned the Big Serve last fall. Well, that has continued on in smaller ways across the campus. So not only did our students get to go out and Big Serve and serve others in the community through beach cleanup, through serving at churches, through helping around the community that we serve here on campus with some of our neighbors that are here on campus with us. In little serves that have continued on, our students have continued having the opportunity to serve Annapolis students or Annapolis teachers or our neighbors here in our community. What that does is it gives the students the opportunity to model after the adults, the teachers that are involved in leading those opportunities, but it also gives those students who are gifted in service already or gifted in community building already the opportunity to deepen and strengthen those particular gifts so then they can share them with other students. Looking forward to this coming year, we're going to see some changes in the house program where students will take a greater role in the spiritual involvement and guidance of their own classmates. We're excited to watch how that kind of develops. There's been student requests for more opportunities for that type of leadership in the house program. So we're going to start to see a little bit more of the kind of the character qualities that are developed through programs like Big Serve, we're going to see those start to flourish within our students inside the house program in the Solar buildings. We're also really excited to have in the strategic plan a continued emphasis on the right kind of growth, both in retention, in recruitment, and in development, because we want to make sure at Annapolis and have a written commitment in the strategic plan to increasing how we compensate and reward the faculty for their hard work that they put in and day out on campus. We want to make sure that we are able to maintain and grow the school in a way that allows us to continue to increase the wages, to increase the benefits, to increase the teacher development programs. From a board perspective, that is a very important part of our upcoming strategic plan. You saw the pie charts, I think that's what they're called, that Mr. Lockyer put up, and you could see that about 70% of our revenue goes to teacher salaries, and about 70% of our revenue comes in from tuition. So making sure that we maintain a good balance on the tuition side of the house and a good balance on the payroll side of the house is crucial for the success of the school. The levers that the administration has when it comes to being able to increase the payroll size of our budget, the levers that they can pull are in really directly related to retention and recruitment of students. We want to maintain reasonable development goals, but a private school and a school like ours doesn't raise hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars a year to offset tuition. Tuition still is the primary source of the revenue for the school. So as a board, we want to make sure going forward that we set tuition at appropriate levels. I'm not presaging a giant tuition raise here, just to be clear. But I want you to know that the board is aware. Again, we are parents, so we're also paying tuition. So we want to make sure that tuition and payroll continue to work together to make sure that everybody has the necessary rewards for their hard effort and the necessary opportunities to join Annapolis as a family. I'm also really excited we're going to be rolling out a new board member training program as we onboard new board members. We've looked at some other schools and how they train their board members, and I'll share with you briefly. I'm open to feedback from faculty members and from families and things that they think would be important for the board to consider. But here are some of the books that we're going to be encouraging board members to read. This won't all be in their first year on the board, but this will be modeling after what Mr. Lockyer, the administration, and the faculty have been doing in the faculty training program, which is ultimately a 3-year training program, an intensive first year in working at Annapolis, an intensive second year in classical Christian education, and then a rotating third year for the faculty members in various aspects of improving and deepening their skill set. We're going to have something that models that at the board level that involves a first-year onboarding program for new faculty members where they'll be reading books that are aligned with what the parents will be reading in a new parent engagement program, things like Shaping Hearts and Minds, The Lost Tools of Learning, classical Christian texts that have given rise to our school or that explain what we do here in ways that make it possible for the board members to also be acolytes for the school or proselytes for the school. And then as we move on in the training program, some of the other books on our reading list will be Repairing the Ruins, The 7 Laws of Teaching. There's a lot of Douglas Wilson here, I apologize, but Recovering Lost Tools of Learning, The Case for Classical Christian Education, books by Chesterton, writings by John Milton, by Augustine, and by C.S. Lewis. So from a board perspective, we're going to see over the next few years a plan and a program roll out where the board, like the faculty, are deepening and strengthening our own knowledge and commitment to classical Christian education. So board members will come in, just like faculty will come in, with varying degrees of understanding of what is unique about classical Christian education. And just like the Arate Academy program for the teachers, we're going to see a similar program roll out to the board also. And like I mentioned a moment ago, if there are faculty members that are listening that want to make suggestions for additional readings for the board or additional tools for the board, I'm more than happy to hear those and to implement those as we can. We have experts on campus in classical Christian education, so it makes sense and would be wise of the board to listen and hear from them as far as how to improve our own understanding. And finally on the list, I'm really excited for more opportunities for community and family engagement at Annapolis. Travis is going to talk about this in some future slides here in a little bit, but you've already seen this school year and last school year, not just events like this and Coffees with the Head. I mean, the Coffees with the Head this spring were literally topics taken out of the family surveys that were done at the end of last semester. And then deepened in the explanation and understanding of each of those as individual topics in Coffees with the Head. We'll see more of that going forward. We're also going to see things like the Warrior Men breakfasts and lunches that we've been doing this semester. We'll see those continuing. We're going to see the prayer group continuing that meets after chapel, which is a very exciting kind of ad hoc prayer time that happened because some moms, I think I should give credit because I think it was just moms, developed this idea, had this impression on their heart from God to start a consistent prayer meeting. So that meets once a month. We're going to see more of those kinds of intentional and or ad hoc informal opportunities for families to engage in the school. Travis mentioned it a moment ago. Annapolis partners with families. We are not a glorified babysitter who happens to have a lot of expertise in academics. We are a partner with families who maintain the responsibility for the education and the raising of their children. For us to do that with excellence, which is our goal and our striving here at school, we have to have opportunities for families to gather together, that we can know them better as a school, that they can know the school better. So it's not just did I get to visit with my teacher in the grammar building for 30 seconds after class? Did I come to the meeting with the Solar faculty that was the end of the quarter when we were just going over my students' grades? But instead, it's informal engagement with the board, with the administration, with the teachers that grows the relationships that allow Annapolis to be the best and most excellent partner we can possibly be for the families who trust us with the education of their children. And with that, I'll just say that I'll be around to have any conversations that anybody might be interested in having when we're done. I'm more than happy to talk at any time anybody would like to visit. Mr. Lockyer has the same open door policy, so we're happy to be available should anybody have any questions. Again, thank you so much for taking time to visit with us this evening.
It's a dangerous thing to ask teachers, particularly what books to read. When we do our summer book reading and ask them what books to read, I get about 50 different titles. So it's, so we're very well-read staff. Next thing is just talking about just our administration. One of the things that when I talk about clarity is one thing that became really clear is just the need to support the teachers better from an administrative standpoint. And one of the ways to do that was just to provide clarity in who was their direct report. That precipitated the move for me to go back into grammar and then to hire someone who would be dedicated to the Solar position. We have had some outstanding candidates that we have interviewed, and we are moving forward on bringing one of the finalists on campus to spend some time here on campus and to get a chance to meet with her and to see if she is the right person that God is bringing to us. But one of the things that's important for teachers, they need to know that the person that their administrator, their direct report, is somebody who's close by, who's going to be in their classroom, that they can go to and will be responded to in a timely manner. And so we really needed to have an administrator in the lower grammar building. That's where the vast majority of our students are from a population standpoint, in close proximity to Cara Paravel upper grammar, and then to have someone dedicated to the Solar, and that is in a way to help support the teachers and what they're doing. In addition to the administration and governments, student virtue and cultivating that is just such a critical part of what we do as a school. We have been blessed with very unique things that have an intentional purpose of building virtue within the students. We give students opportunity for leadership, for service, sacrifice, and put all these things together to do it in a way in a community to show love for one another. Our chapel services continue to be flourishing. Those have been a consistent staple for us as a school. We have a consistent liturgy that we do on purpose to kind of build in a love for God and His Word and worship. Within the Solar, the feedback we got from the students is that they wanted a more student-led worship time. So we've instituted a chapel band. Stephen's here. He's been gracious in helping us get that off the ground. We we started it, and all of a sudden we had more kids coming, like, I want to be part of it, I want to be part of it. And so it's something definitely that's generated interest, and we're really excited to see that program finish out the year and to maybe start the next year with it already intact, as we kind of learn by doing this year with it. The morning time, Leslie Blackshear has done an amazing job of developing that routine and liturgy there as we weekly talk about a specific virtue that they talk about in class. We learn a hymn of the month, so we begin to memorize these beautiful hymns that are dripping with God's word, and we do this together. That's how we start the day off for grammar. The Benedictio, we pause in the middle of the day, we read God's word, we sing, we thank God for the food that we're about to eat. All these things build a liturgy within the students. James K. Smith talks about just the importance of liturgy and just these practices that we're doing, and we're trying to instill that in the hearts and minds of our students. Rob already mentioned about House. That's continuing to grow as a program. We want to make it more student-led next year, as we've been able to institute some changes this year. We're ready to kind of take it to the next level by giving more responsibility to students, particularly in the small group. And then our formal and then festival days. These were the festival days we built in. There were 4 of them. We've got Warrior Festival coming up. That's our 4th one. As Grammar, Logic, and Rhetoric, bringing all 3 of those levels together in a community, kind of fun-filled, but way to celebrate the history and the learning and do it together. These have been really high points throughout the year. They've done, it's been a lot of fun to see the kids just really take hold of these initiatives, and again, just build that community. As we had kindergartners and seniors in the gym at the same time, just to see that kind of start and finish all together. It was just really a wonderful time to see that. In addition to that, we've been talking about a partnership with parents, and as we've grown as a school, what we used to be pretty easy as a small school, parents were everywhere. We needed them to volunteer. They were on campus. We could barely keep them, we had to keep shooing them off campus. Now we have a little bit of trouble getting them on campus. And so we realized as a school, as we've grown up, we've got to kind of meet families where they're at and build in these community events to kind of build in the partnership and deepen those commitments. So our book club, the Warrior Men, the prayer time, Rob already mentioned, and the Warrior Outdoors. These are things that are meant intentionally to meet parents and bring them in on campus, to give them, whether it's a father-son or a mother-daughter, or those kind of things, building in these community things to build in the partnership so they understand what we're doing as a school, but also just a bit of love for one another. We want that love for one another. We want people to be friends. I just met with a family that's moving from out of town. One of the reasons they came here is they want a community. They left a place that was a really small town. The church, was really, really small, and they saw Annapolis. They talked to some people, like, we want to be a part of a community that we can get loved on and love other people. And that's really what we've tried to be intentional with. And we realize we have to kind of extend our reach a little bit more than we've typically had to. But by doing that, we hopefully will deepen that community. Academics. We take the classic learning test. This is something that we are taking now 3rd through 12th grade as we're able to move through there. We're just getting the results in, so this is just 1 grade's worth. This is just our senior class. One thing that's interesting about the CLT test, when we talk about national averages, typically when we're talking about the SAT or PSAT, the averages are really, they're just of anyone who takes it. But when the CLT averages, we're talking about similar schools just like us with high academic rigor and standards. When we talk about those and we're meeting or exceeding those averages, that means something. That means that we are doing some things well. This really gives us good feedback, again, of schools that have similar standards that we do. And so as we get to see these results roll in and we start comparing ourselves and we start seeing where we're at, strengths and weaknesses, this is really important feedback for us as we want to raise and maintain our high academic standards. That is something that we realize that we have got to continue to keep in laser focus of keeping our high academic standards, and this feedback helps us calibrate, are we there, and if we're not, what do we need to do next to raise those standards and to make sure that we have a habit of excellence. The Imago Dei program, was, this is really the first year that it's been a full program that's been recognized as a school. We've brought it under the umbrella of the school in general. I asked Erin Stapper, the director of that program, to write a little bit, so I'll read what she wrote. So this year in the Imago Dei special education class has been marked by significant milestones and collaborations. One standout event was the inaugural Warrior Waltz fundraiser dance, which was a tremendous success, raising over $8,000 to support the class. This event not only generated crucial funds, but also fostered a sense of community and inclusivity within the school. Also, we'd like to say thank you to the dedicated parent and teacher, Mrs. Jenkins, who worked diligently on securing several grants this year, providing over $20,000 of funding for the Imago Dei classroom. We are forever grateful to Mrs. Jenkins to her time and effort. We are also grateful to Annapolis, the parents, friends, families for their contributions to the Imago Dei class. What a wonderful thing it is to see families attending school together as one unit. Throughout the school year, the students of the Imago Dei special education class have actively engaged in various enriching experiences alongside their peers. One notable aspect has been their participation in several field trips, providing them with opportunities for exploration and social interaction. Imago Dei students engage in various activities and festivals with their peer groups, such as the World's Fair and Frontier Festival. These activities promote cross-cultural understanding and appreciation while providing students with hands-on learning experiences that extend beyond traditional classroom boundaries, while allowing natural social interactions between peers. Additionally, the Warrior Leadership Academy has played a vital role in the classroom, offering their assistance through weekly service projects. Their involvement exemplified the dedication to school leadership and their genuine care for the students in the Imago Dei class. Their support has been invaluable, and as they have enhanced the learning environment for not only the Imago Dei students, but our older students as well. The Imago Dei classroom eagerly anticipates the enrollment of 2 additional students next academic year, thereby reaching maximum capacity within the classroom. Mrs. Stapper expresses her sincere gratitude for the privilege and opportunity to serve as an educator within the Imago Dei class. We've really seen just a blessing, not only being able to have families come and be here all together on the same campus, but one of the things that we've really seen is, as Christ calls us, to have empathy and love for unto the least of these, to have them go into our regular ed classrooms and have our high school students come and serve, they start seeing what that looks like and touching and feeling that. And all of these things are enhancing the school as a whole. So we are able to bless families, but also they are a blessing to us as a school and has definitely enhanced the greater culture and climate of the school and the student body. Just a couple more pictures. As you can see, the students that have been participating, as you notice, we've got multiple grade levels coming in, helping and being a part of it, whether it's volunteering, the Imago Dei, the Waltz, or the festivals. They've all spent time with our students, and again, it's not just exclusive to their grade cohort, but across the school, kids are experiencing their time together. We talk about faculty and resources. Our current challenge right now is recruiting and also retaining highly qualified teachers. This is obviously a priority for myself particularly, is bringing in faculty members to fill in these open positions. I mentioned the core values that we're looking for of faculty members, but then once they're here and we're investing in them, we want to retain them. And so creating support systems for them to feel the love that they need to, that they feel like they have everything they need to be successful, they have access to the administration that they need to, that are going to respond to them in timely ways. And again, just having that building in that community. They sacrifice a lot to be here. They are severely underpaid compared to other teachers. We ask a lot of them. We want them to understand that those sacrifices are for the greater good and for their good and for the school, and they are doing it in a way that is serving the Lord, and they are a blessing and they are appreciated for everything they do. I can't thank Pals enough and Sarah Brown for her help as she is unrolling just a wonderful Teacher Appreciation Week coming up. Teachers are so excited about it. They're definitely going to be feeling the love. They're going to get massages and lots of treats and coffee and all this, and it's just going to be a wonderful way to bless our faculty and let them know how much we appreciate them. One of the ways that school, there's a gap between the actual cost of educating a student and the cost of tuition. That gap is filled through the generosity of donors through whether it's school sponsorship, just straight up donations, or fundraisers, things like that. These school sponsorships are extremely important and vital for us to bridge that gap. And so as we get into the summer and look to renew these sponsorships, we're also looking for new sponsors as well. We try to make it as attractive as a package as possible. It allows you to get some marketing that allows the school and its reach, particularly with athletics and our live streaming and those kind of options and our large events, that you get the marketing and the value of that, reaching our school families and extended families and in the community. But that money helps with our Warrior Fund, and again, bridging that gap that we have. And again, we want to put ourselves on a stronger and stronger financial footing. By doing that, that allows us to financially benefit the teachers, put again in financial packages and benefits for them. Again, as we try to recruit and retrain those teachers, the financial thing is obviously a big piece of that, and all these things work together. So we really appreciate those that have committed this year with the sponsorship, and again, we look to renew and we look to grow this sponsorship as more and more people get to participate, and you are directly impacting our programs, whether they're extracurricular or curricular programs, and also with our teachers and recruiting and retaining them. As I mentioned, the 5 priorities with our Warrior Funds, first and foremost is teachers. But all these things help, all the money from the sponsorships and the development dollars and the donors and the giving help us in so many ways, and it's just it's so important. We also want you to get the word out. There is some room to grow. We've got a couple classrooms full, but there's others that are not. So get the word out. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to people at church that maybe are looking. Maybe they're a homeschool family that maybe is kind of feeling like it's getting to be a little tough to be mom and teacher. Or maybe they're in a public school and they're realizing that the environment that they're in and it's not what they want for a family. Those are the families that we're looking for, that are committed Christian families looking for a partnership and investment into the future. And so get the word out and bring them in, and we would love to talk with them and to give them a tour of the campus. So what's next? First and foremost, and Jack Carter did a beautiful job explaining this, prayer. We need your prayer. We want to be a school of prayer. This school literally was birthed in a prayer meeting. And so we want to make sure that we never forget that prayer is showing our gratitude and our humble submission to God. So prayer first and foremost. Second is recruiting the highly qualified teachers, filling these positions. We've already been able to interview and hire some new teachers that we're super excited about. Those interviews are ongoing, and we'll continue to announce them as we get them hired. But it's a process, and it takes a lot of work and time. Onboarding our 2 leadership positions with a solar principal and a director of advancement, finding the right people who are committed to the school and are going to be able to advance the mission of the school in whatever means that they've been called to. That we are excited about the people that we're interviewing. We're excited about the quality of the candidates that we had, and we are looking forward to God blessing us with some great leaders that will be able to move the needle forward with our school. Recruiting committed Christian families. Like I said, we have room to grow. We would love to have more and more committed Christian families within the Coastal Bend come and be a part of our school. And the thing I've touched on a little bit is just clarifying and committing ourselves to academic excellence and continuing to pursue that. And the areas that we are a little bit weaker in is finding ways to bolster that and improve through professional development, through committing ourselves to standards and clarifying those things. We want high academic standards. We want the wisdom, peace, and the virtue working together and not compromising on that. And so continuing to work with teachers and continuing to, again, clarify our standards, our curriculum, and being committed to that as we commit ourselves to the excellence that the school is known for. At the very end, it's always about our mission and getting back to the mission and making sure that that is the North Star that we calibrate everything to. And we are thankful this mission has not changed from the beginning of the school year. Next year we'll celebrate our 30th year, and God has been faithful for us for 29 years and into 30 years. It's just a wonderful testament to God's faithfulness, and the mission of the school has been something that has been true, and God has been faithful to it as we are faithful to the mission and faithful to the legacy that's been given to us. Again, I just want to thank everyone for their time, and I really appreciate those of you that took the time to come out here. And those of you that watched online, we were thankful for you for spending time listening. As Rob mentioned, you can always reach out, talk to me, or email me if you have any questions. Would love to talk, or if there's anything that needs to be clarified, would love to do that. Again, thank you so much for everything. And you're going to close in prayer? Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and close in prayer. Righteous Lord, thank you so much for your continued faithfulness to Annapolis. You have shown every year for almost 30 years at this point that this school is in your hands, that you have the perfect plan for it. We ask, Lord, that you will bless those who you've called for other opportunities for this coming school year, that you will go with them and that you will make their way straight. We ask, Lord, that you'll also continue to lay on the hearts of new families and new faculty members to come join us, that you will give the administration wisdom in these hires, that you will help the current faculty to feel supported and to be able to onboard the new faculty well, so that the culture here continues to grow and strengthen. We ask as the new students come in that you will do the same thing with them, that you will find their peer group here, that they will find their peer group here open and accepting and encouraging and guiding. And Lord, we know again that you have your faithful hand on this school, and we ask that you will bless those who have participated in this event tonight, both online and here in person, and those that watch it later. Lord, continue to guide and direct this school according to your perfect plan. Amen. Thank you all so much.